viewers, welcome to another edition on the Inside View. I'm more than excited today, to talk about, one of the most controversial topics, and also a topic that's there's so much, I'll say, stigmatization surrounding it. But I have a beautiful lady here today who's been so brave. I'll say she's so brave to share her story. But before that, I'd like to talk about, my outfit today has been provided by I'll say Glitz and Glamour from Ghana, and also my hair and makeup from TNA Makeup Touch. You can follow her on the Instagram. So today we're going to talk about a beautiful young lady who's having so far gone through and then is willing to share her journey, a painful journey, but then she's actually braved herself to talk about it today. Her name is Lady One.
Ooh.
Welcome to the Inside View. I'm Lady Esther.
Thank you, Nana. So good to be here. Thank you for having me.
Amazing. I would say the conversation and also, the discussion surrounding mental health has significantly changed over the past 10 years. It started with the, I would say charities. And then the government actually paid attention to it. And then from nowhere, we have big names actually coming out to share their stories. Big names like Oprah. We have our own Prince also sharing her story. But I've realized that in our community, mental health, it's something that is actually frowned upon. It's something that we still see it as a taboo. Because at the end of the day, we think, oh, okay, we've survived, slavery. So, that we can talk about, madness. We can survive anything. So Esther,
Yes.
today, the whole world is listening and also watching you. Who is Esther, or who is Lady One?
Oh, thank you, Ma. Thank you so much for that wonderful introduction to the topic. My name is Esther, like you rightly said, and I come from Nigeria, Anambra State, Nigeria. I'm Igbo tribe. I'm also the descendant of the king of my village, so yes, a princess, royalty by birth. And by the grace of God, I'm very fortunate to live in United Kingdom, where we are right now shooting this video. In a nutshell, I'll say I'm a child of God.
Okay.
And I'm going places, and I'm not everybody's cup of tea, but that's okay. That's my introduction.
Wow. So, that's a very, very powerful intro.
Thank you.
So we just want to know a little bit about yourself and what motivates you.
Wow. I'm motivated by beauty, by excellence, by grace. Anything that, speaks of excellence, that speaks of creativity, it really, really pulls my soul. Music, movies, beautiful hair, dress and makeup like this. Yes. I find it very inspiring, man.
Good.
Yes,
Good.
I love to be surrounded by beauty, by creativity.
We talk about mental health, on a daily basis, but we don't know what a good mental health and a bad, mental health. I think we get a bit confused. So in your view, you've gone through it, you've lived through it, and you are willing to share your whole experience with the world, and especially in our community. To you, what is a good mental health and what is a bad mental health?
Thank you so much for that beautiful question again. I'll start by saying that there is a big spectrum, a wide spectrum, and at any given point, any individual can be on 0, that's really, really healthy mentally, or 10, that is maybe they're already committed and they're already institutionalized and have been put away. So, just like your physical health, I'll use physical health because many people relate to physical health. If you wear glasses, something is wrong with your eyes. If you feel pain, toothache, if your pee is the wrong color, pain most of the time indicates bad physical health. So, for mental health, I'll say the first thing that you notice something is wrong is discomfort. The way it plays out might differ. It might be inability to concentrate, inability to remember, inability to even sleep. But good mental health is just like physical mental health, when you can shake your whole body, you can stretch, and you say, oh, there's nothing wrong, I'm fine, 100%. And good mental health, in the same vein, just like physical mental health, is when there's nothing really weighing you down. You might have issues and challenges and things to deal with, but you don't become encumbered by them so that you wear them, because anxiety weighs people down. So you are able to still be in the moment, still be responsible, you know, respond well, you know, without flying off the handle and easily, you know, annoyed or ruffled. So that is what I would like to explain about. I don't know if I've done it justice.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
feel free to
that's
ask
fine.
deeper questions.
You know, I would say help us to understand what it's like living with mental illness, or like any form of mental, because I know we have, you know, anxiety, we have depression, we have, you know, all forms of mental illness. So in your case, what is it like, you know, to live with mental illness?
Wow, another excellent question, because I'm what is termed mental health expert by experience.
Okay.
So it's not because I have masters or PhD,
Okay.
I'm not a professor in mental health studies, no, but I have lived the experience. And it first of all starts by being very lonely.
Okay.
You feel like no one will understand you. You're the only one in this head mind space, this bubble. It feels very, very isolated. It feels like you might have people who care about you, but you can't really see or access or receive that, because you're not open. You're on your own, and this is your problem, and it's quite a lonely and a very frustrating experience. Not frustrating, you're like but in the terms of, where do you start? Are you even worth it? Who cares? Why would they understand? Who understands? Okay, it doesn't matter. Just keep quiet, suffer in silence. Deal with it. Deal with yourself. You know, get buried. Something. You know, it's quite. Is it debilitating? I don't know the term. It means you can't actually live and make friends and get married and have kids and raise them. You always, you know, I'll keep to myself. And what if they know? Oh my God, it's very very lonely.
I think I would say in our community we're beginning to have this conversation about this mental health, but it's still not something that we believe in, because we think, oh, it's something spiritual, something, you know, something to do with our gods, and maybe you might have done something, that is why you're being punished mentally. You know, that's what, you know, we were brought up to believe in. So mental health, as it is, we don't talk about it. So why do you think mental health is perceived, you know, as a taboo, or like a conversation that most parents wouldn't even want to entertain at all? Why do you think so?
Stigma, people fearing what they don't know, what they don't understand. Maybe when they know it, they like to stereotype. So because they've seen a certain person behave in a certain manner, and that person was diagnosed or classed with a certain term, now everybody gets painted with the same brush. I'll just put it down to laziness, people not wanting to better themselves through education, not wanting to look out of their own bubble to see that, you know, it's not about you. Somebody's really suffering, and maybe this is the way they're crying for help, you know. So the reason it becomes like a taboo is laziness, lack of education, ignorance, you know, fear. That's you know, because once we don't get it, it's like, what on earth is that? What are you talking about? Get away with that. Let's crucify them. Let's throw them away. They're not normal. Because many people, believe it or not, 1 in 4, according to Mind UK statistics, 1 in 4. So if there's 4 of us right now, one person is having a mental health problem that they're not sharing. So it's more common than you think. And you think that because it's so common, there'll be more sympathy for it, there'll be more understanding, more education, more help. But people just frown on things that are not celebrated. The only reason everybody likes, maybe has iPhones or things that are flashy, because people celebrate those things.
Yeah.
Nobody coming out and say, oh, I'm a mental health expert by experience, I've been through it, yeah. You know, no one is saying that and wearing that badge proudly. People are just like, oh, please don't let people know. Oh my gosh. And that's why it continues to be like a taboo. Wrongfully so.
Interesting. So in your case, you know, like at what point did you, you know, get diagnosed, or what made you? I'm yet to actually believe that, like especially in our society, we think or feel that mental health. If there's any mental health patient in a family, there's no way that maybe they can even allow maybe their son or daughter to marry into that family because they think, oh, maybe that madness, can transmit, like genetically or whatever. So we frown upon it so badly. So I'm so glad that you've talked about it, that we lack education and we don't want to actually actually learn or study into this. So in your case, when you were diagnosed with this mental illness, what was the consequences for your family? I mean, how did your family actually, accept this situation? Because obviously, I'm thinking maybe your dad or your mom, might be thinking, ooh, what will actually, what would other people think or even, perceive of our family? How was that experience like?
To be honest, this is quite a strange one because I lived with my family up until I was 23, and even then I didn't really feel like I was suffering or I needed any kind of therapy or help. I was just reacting to things, making bad decisions because I was bleeding. Not physically, I mean like mentally, and because I was wounded, I was making all these choices. And my family could see all the wrong choices I'd made, all the ways that I'd lived my life, the ways that I was, to them it was like, it's just not normal. But no one could diagnose that, oh, there is some bleeding or some mental illness there. No one could. When I came to England, after returning the second time around, I was speaking to some health visitors and they said, okay, when I disclosed to them some of the abuse I endured as a child, sexual abuse as well as domestic violence in my previous relationships, and they just asked me, has it been dealt with? Because imagine you just went out and you got a big cut on your arm or your leg and no doctor had looked after it. You could be festering, it could become gangrene, it could lead to so many things, abscess, they could even have to amputate that part of your body because it's not been treated. So when they asked this question, I had to actually, that was the first time, but now I was with my children, I was no longer with my mom and my dad. They still have all maybe the trauma that I put them through. They might still be feeling the effects. But I wasn't even aware of what I was doing because I was just hurting, And when I had the diagnosis and I was referred to a therapist, I started working on myself. And I think maybe my family, they might be relieved to say, okay, now we understand what was going on. But I don't know personally how they felt or how they perceived my change. I don't know because we don't talk about it.
Oh, okay. Before we come, like onto that, do you think maybe your abuse, like the abuses that you went through, triggered, all these forms of, like mental, like illness that you suffered, or do you think it was something else?
That's a very, 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 very wide question. I don't even know how to answer because for every person, it will be different. Even though we all have like similar anatomy, we all have eyes and brain, and we have arms and intestines, but every single person is going to be different. The way that your body metabolizes as well as the way that, I'm using physical because I'm a human anatomist by profession. I studied that in university, first degree. So I understand how the body functions. The mind and how it functions, scientists are still unraveling. It's just lately that even in this century that they begin to know more things about how the mind. So even trauma, I think trauma is what we do to ourselves. So somebody could be abused as a child and they could look at that in a way that, okay, I'm no longer a child. That person was demented. That pervert was demented. But that's that. And that's in the past. That person could have a different way of, we have different thresholds, we have different tolerance. Some people are not as strong as others, some people don't make sense of things as better than others, or as well as others. So I think that it's a personal thing. It's not just what you think, it's how you think. And that could actually come with training. People could be trained to have the right perspective. So how did I end up being so hurt? I think it was just the way that I handled it. Because everyone has gone through disappointment, betrayal, scam, or being pushed in some way. Every single person will face challenges. It's how we choose to respond. So I'm not entirely going to blame my history on my past. it could have contributed, but I think the onus lies on me. I 100% am responsible for how I chose to see those things. I could have chosen to see them, oh wow, I'm a victor, you know, wow, I'm strong, wow, that thing didn't crack me. But instead, I let most of them pull me so under that I wished to not be alive. I wished to take my life more than once, because I didn't have the tools to handle the challenge. That life is tough, but we are tougher. We need to let people know that life is tough, but you're tougher, you know? And that could strengthen any, because you will face storms.
Yeah.
But as long as you know how to sail your boat, you won't be afraid, or you have a good crew around you, you won't be afraid. But once your mind is already like, oh. So I think it was more like I was born not very strong as a person.
Do you know what? You have the older generation saying that, you know, this generation, they are not mentally tough because they are over-pampered. They've got everything, you know, at your disposal, yet they're still not mentally, you know, grounded or sound. You know, what do you say to that? Because I would feel that maybe, you know, you going through that, you know, therapy, you might feel that, you know, stigmatized. Because you might think, oh, why this? And obviously you might have friends who might be thinking, oh, there's something wrong with Esther. Esther's not well, you know. Sometimes they might not necessarily understand your emotions, you know, your behavior and everything. Do you think our, you know, our older generation, they really understand us?
Now that's a question we have to ask.
Because no, because it's like they think we are too over-pampered, isn't it? You know, they didn't have all these privileges or, you know, this easy life that they did. But then they are so mentally grounded. And so I would say that, is it because maybe they don't understand this mental illness, or they are just, I would say, you know, just brushing it aside? Like, what do you think?
If you ask my own opinion, because I haven't studied, I haven't researched, I haven't polled all the elder people to find out how they think about our generation. But I was thinking more about the people we're raising, the children we're raising. I see people in America just take a gun and start shooting people. I see adults who behave like children when they're tired. They start throwing tantrums and they start cursing and swearing, and I'm like, wow, you definitely did not learn emotional or mood regulation growing up. You know, so it does start with the child. And I have adults who, even older than us, who are still not emotionally sound, who are still holding on to resentment and grudges and vengeance, and they're just hurting and poisoning their souls because of how they choose to think. I have a lady who's like twice my age, and she has a black book. If you hurt her, she writes your name down.
Oh God.
But that's hurting her. That's hurting her. But people don't know that. That's a problem with the mind. That's unhealthy, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's unhealthy thinking. So it might not be a physical problem, but that could lead to physical problems in her body. That's what people do not understand, the mind-body connection. Everything in your body is what is going on in your mind. Not necessarily everything, because some of them are environmental forces. Like if you were born during Hiroshima, where they released a nuclear bomb or something like that, it would affect your genes and your molecules. But most of the time, when we have abscess, when we have boils, when we have ulcers, when we have arthritis, you know, why is our mind how it is that makes us make the decisions and the foods we eat and the pain that we're feeling? It's from the mind. So even older people are struggling. I just generally think that mental health education is struggling. People need to be more educated. Because even the older people, I talk to a lot of old people, I mean people much older than myself, and it's all about how do you think? How?
Okay. So in your case, how long did it take you to seek mental health treatment once, you know, the need became apparent?
I'll say it was almost immediately. Because I have these friendly faces telling me that, okay, you've gone through so much, and it appears like you haven't had any kind of help to deal with those things. Would you like us to put through a referral for you? And I was handled so graciously, I couldn't say no. I mean, I thought about the implications. Would my kids be taken off me? What would happen to me? Will I need to be on mental illness, disability or allowance or something? You know, what would come out of that? But I decided that, you know what, I have kids. I don't want